The Catholics of Oz is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to episode 87 of The Catholics of Oz. The Catholics of Oz is a show where we discuss faith, culture, and what's been happening from an Aussie perspective. Whether it's synods or science, apostolates and apps, providence or productivity, you can hear it right now on The Catholics of Oz. Hello, I'm Lindsay Satn, and welcome to episode 87 of The Catholics of Oz. It's been a while, and we have another excuse, and we'll go through that in a moment, so we're so sorry. I feel like we've done this a few times this year, but before we go...
It's been a tough one.
Yes, before we get into confession apology mode, let me reintroduce who's here with you. First of all, Caroline Knight. Welcome back to the Catholics of Oz. It has been
Thank you.
a long time. Yeah, it's so good to have you. How are you?
I didn't intend to be away so long, but yes, I am good. I am well, thank you.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, I mean, it's been that long since the listeners have heard your voice, but I saw you yesterday.
Yes.
I've seen you a couple of times since, but
yes. But it's been a while.
And returning again, Lino Saubolle. I think we missed an episode with you. That's right. Yes, the last one. But Lino, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, guys. I'm good. It's good to be back. Yeah, all of us seem to get colds and coughs. Oh gosh, it's
and worse.
been crazy.
I've always said winter's not my friend, and this year it's really not been my friend. It's been terrible.
I totally agree. We do our seasons once again. I've just gone off the rails. With spring has been springy. But it's so changed, guys. But it's good to be back. And also, I'd like to get a shout out to Jerry for popping in and with you, Lindsay. It's been great.
Yes. Big thanks to Jerry.
I need to listen to you guys soon, very soon. But I've got a big excuse to listen to you guys because I've got 50 shelves of grey of painting Warhammer. So that'll be great to listen to. And
no
do
excuse for
else.
not listening.
Yeah. Definitely now. Yeah.
You can pass the time by listening to me and Jerry. And also, I might mention as well, speaking of passing the time, last episode, episode 86, which would have been about 4 weeks ago now, I recorded with Dom Bettinelli, CEO of Star Quest.
Right.
That's
special one. Thanks, Dom.
Yep.
Covered us as well.
And the episode went for about 2 hours. And the reason for that is because the network has grown so much. There is so much more content since the last time he was on a podcast with us. And I personally wanted to make sure that each show, got its due and got a good mention because they're all high quality shows that deserve a bit of a bit of praise. And so so we had a chat for about 2 hours, but I want to thank Dom for being part of the show. Spending 2 hours with me talking about the network and going through it. And as always, we appreciate his dedication to SQPN and his support of the Catholics of Oz. We're just so pleased that we have a platform to share our Australian Catholic voice with some other people in Australia and around the world too. But let's get to some confessions. So why didn't we have an episode last 2 weeks ago? Why was episode
we really did anything wrong?
It's not. We didn't actually do anything wrong. Let's just say things happened to us. So Lino, you've been quite sick. You had a cold that took a long time to shake off.
It was horrible, guys. I did my COVID test. It wasn't a COVID. It was just a really bad cough. And I thought, cough and cold. I can take this for 2 or 3 days. No, it went for a week. Went to work for a couple of days. Started again. It's then after that it was okay. I was okay. And of course, I would like to mention Marilyn and Jamie's wedding. I was still sort of recovering, but I was okay.
You were still a bit out of it at the wedding. I remember.
I was just I was like, okay, I was doing this. It was something I've never had before. I was like, whoa. But I'm feeling good now. I'm feeling good. Yeah.
Yeah. Good to have you healthy and back on deck. And speaking of COVID tests, Caroline. Caroline and I, independently of each other, I should say, we both contracted COVID again. And let me put it this way, right? So this was your second time, Caroline. This was my third time, right? So we both had the lovely Omicron variant in January this year. I had.
Well, we assume. Yeah.
Well, I assume. Yeah. I'm going to assume that I had the Omicron variant again in about June. Yeah, it would have been June, end of June this year.
Yeah.
But I didn't get as sick. I got a bit tired, but I didn't get as sick. So I must have been ready for it. So whatever we got this time, maybe it's I think the XBB variant of Omicron is the one that was peaking in Victoria at the moment.
The one that's really mixed up and mutated.
Yes, it's like a COVID soup, which you don't want to have. That makes it sound worse. But in Australia at the moment, and I think there are other parts of the world, there's a variant that emerged apparently from Singapore, the XBB variant, which
apparently
So there's another lovely wave happening here right now, which is supposed to peak hopefully by the end of this month. That'd be great.
Apparently they reckon we're in the middle of it and it should go downwards, start peaking downwards. So.
Yes, but you and I both got quite sick again.
And before that, Lino, I have to sympathise with you because I had similar cold. I started from about the end of July. The kids were bringing me, and this is really why I couldn't participate in the show because I ended up getting like a laryngitis, a sinusitis. My voice went for weeks, and I'm still healing from it. Then I got the COVID with Lindsay, and we were about to podcast, and we both felt ill. That the day before, and we are so sick. It really hit us badly. It was a bad variant. I'm telling you, I'm still so lethargic from it. It is just a bad one. I'm sorry to go on about COVID, but it is not my friend.
No, it is
do not enjoy
not.
getting these bugs. But and
if anything, to bring it up, not just to make pathetic excuses for not podcasting, but also for also to sympathise and say that we're with you. Anyone else who has gone through it recently or is going through it now. We are here with you. All right, we understand, and if you are feeling ill,
we feel your pain.
If you're feeling the effects of recently being ill from it, we're praying for you to recover and get back to normal as soon as possible.
Lots of rest, drink lots of fluid, be kind to yourself because it doesn't go away as quickly as you want it to. So just relax.
It does. It does. Definitely.
Takes its sweet time. Anyway.
Ooh, ouch.
So, look, with that out of the way.
But thank God we're here.
And we're here. Now we're back podcasting. Yeah. And Lino mentioned it before. I don't know if we'd mentioned before it happened, but not after. We hadn't had a chance to, but we went to Marilyn's wedding.
Yes, we did.
Gosh, when was it again? It was a while.
I was still not quite well myself. I had to push that week. I really did. It was hard.
Yes, you did, darling.
But it was such a beautiful wedding. So Marilyn is yours, Lindsay, and my baby sister, our little sister.
Yep.
And she got married to her husband, Jamie.
Woohoo.
And this was on the 20th of October.
Yeah.
20th of October? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
A while ago.
It's a month ago now at time of recording. And it was the most beautiful wedding. We had such a lovely day. We all got dressed up and it was such a lovely, beautiful wedding. Couldn't have been better. We were so happy.
And I want to make it officially recorded now that I saved the wedding. I want to put that out there.
How's it?
Yes.
My father, Michael.
Yes, I don't know if you remember.
Yes, that's right. Okay,
Father Michael, who we love. He was our parish
Father
priest.
Michael Shadbolt,
Shadbolt. Yeah.
Shadbolt.
2 priests ago, he was our parish priest. And he retired. He'd been our parish priest for 20 odd years.
Very long time.
And he, so the reason why, from my understanding, that Marilyn asked him to do it is because he had been involved in our family. He'd done my wedding, right. Caroline, he'd done your wedding to Phil.
Yes.
Yeah. Lino, he'd done your wedding, but
Yes,
we're not even related. Lino, you did your wedding too. But that's how involved.
Reconciliations, confirmations.
All of our kids, a lot of our kids' sacraments, a lot of those things.
Baptized,
He did our Nana's funeral, Caroline, with a whole lot of other celebrated with a lot of other Maltese priests. So anyway, the thing is, this guy has been in our family for a long, long, long time.
He's like our grandfather.
He's like a grandfather, yeah. And so Marilyn asked him to do the wedding, and he graciously accepted. He was a bit worried because he was saying to her, "I'm a bit rusty." He hadn't done weddings since before COVID, because he's retired and everything. So so he had to get himself back into.
He was so happy to do it though.
Yeah,
he was so excited.
He was, and you could see he was having a ball. Except at one moment. during the mass. Father Michael
get to the time where
did the gospel. He preached the homily. Everything was going smoothly. And then he said, "Now let's have the prayers of the faithful." And
we're like, what?
What? So prayers of the faithful happened. And I'm like, maybe he's going to do it now. And he goes, "All right, let's have the offertory." I was like, okay. In my head, I was like, it's confirmed. he forgot to do the marriage rites. Whoops,
The
he forgot to marry
marriage.
them. Yeah, that's the whole reason we're there. And I think what happened is he just went into mass mode and just started, continue carrying on with the mass. So now I was one of the groomsmen sitting in the front row, so thankfully I wasn't have to walk from far.
Yeah.
So I just walked up to him with my back to everyone else, and I said in his ear, I said, "You haven't done the wedding rite yet." And he looked at me and he goes, "What?" I said, "You haven't married them." And he goes, "I haven't married them." And now our mother and our brother Caroline Paul were coming up with the gifts, and he goes, Stop. He goes, go back. He goes, "I haven't married them yet." So, yeah. Anyway, and you know what? It's his personality is such that you wouldn't put something like that past him, and and the thing is though, he still had fun with it, and it was
it was still fun, and he made sure I did my job as dress fluffer for my sister.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Now you come and carry the dress, Carol, like the tail. Yeah,
the bridesmaid. So I had to go and make sure the dress was nice and set up each time our sister moved.
Marilyn sat down,
yeah. But we're so grateful, and I made sure in my speech to really say some nice things about him, and just to thank him so much for what he's done for our family and everything. So, and he contributed to it was a beautiful wedding. It was a really beautiful day. So
it really was.
Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Sewell.
Yay!
Yay!
So happy for them.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
All right, so
Father Michael, we love you. We love him. We love
we
him.
do.
It's like, he's almost going through. Oh no, we're gonna stop it.
Yeah. Halt.
Bernadette, my wife, my side's going, "Oh, Lindsay, is he?" She was about to go to Lindsay.
Yeah, I felt like Bernadette. I could feel her presence behind, like somewhere in the church, getting ready to get up. Yeah, I had a feeling if it wasn't me, she would have done it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Either that or giving you your signal, bro. Like, hey, Lindsay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just in case.
Now, what people need to know is that Bernadette and I are so in sync when it comes to church things. Yeah.
I am so definitely thinking that you guys are like, what's it? I was supposed to say, I can't remember the Star Trek race that has a sort of in telepathy.
Oh, like the binars where they can just read each other's what? Yeah. When it comes to mass and liturgical stuff, you're absolutely right. That's so true. Yeah, one of us will pick it up and one of us will do something about it.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So So before we continue, first of all, yes, we're bantering for a while because we haven't spoken like this in a long time.
Yeah,
but
we
haven't
even seen each other for a long time. Yeah.
Understand. Yeah. But if you're new to listening to the Catholics of Oz, first of all, welcome. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, or your favorite podcast player. And please don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and some positive feedback so that we can reach new people, which is what we are all about. SQPN also hosts all of its shows, including the Catholics of Oz, on YouTube. So just type SQPN on YouTube and you can subscribe there. Hit the bell to get notifications when new episodes of this show and any other shows on the StarQuest network are released. And if you listen to the last episode of Catholics of Oz, you will find out about all of those wonderful shows and why we think they're worth listening to. So, Caroline and Lino, let's roll on and let's get into Faith Beyond Borders.
Well, I'm actually feeling rather good about this. I think we've all arrived at a very special place, eh? Oh. Spiritually, ecumenically.
How do you make somebody love you without affecting free will?
Welcome to my world, son. You come up with an answer to that one, you let me know.
Yes, I had to work very hard to pass Latin and theology.
Oh, quite. Those are, of course, the most important things.
Oh, yeah.
I'd sit this one out, Cap.
I don't see how I can.
These guys come from legend. They're basically gods.
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
So, Caroline and Lino, I thought today I would discuss the topic of missionary discipleship. Now, I've mentioned this a few times in previous episodes when I've gone through, plenary council documents, talking about that. The church itself, the worldwide church, is really moving towards renewing. It's not, missionary work is nothing new, right? But is renewing its commitment to its mission. And the mission of the church is God's mission, right? God is the mission. We didn't invent the mission. We didn't add anything to it. God is the one who has initiated that mission. And we know that through Matthew's gospel, when Jesus says, "Go out to all the world and baptize all the nations in the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, knowing that I'll be with you till the end of time, and so on. So we're as baptized, we are on a mission. We're on God's mission. And so one of the terms that's been, that gets bandied around, an important one is missionary discipleship. As you know, a disciple is someone who does the work of their leader, of the one who directs everything. So as disciples of Christ, we share in God's mission. And that's a joyful thing. It's not a how do I put it? A burdensome obligation that we're asked to take on. It's a mission of joy. It's we've received something great from Jesus, and it's something that we love so much that we want to share it appropriately. Obviously, not we're going to go Bible bashing people or whatever, but it's something that something that we want to share. And you could see, for example, how would we go about doing this? Look at the encounters that Jesus had. How did he encounter people? And there's a model for us in how to do that too. So in my work on looking at missionary discipleship, it's something that I've become, how do I put it? I don't want to say passionate about. It is something I'm passionate about, but it's something that's really come to the forefront of my mind for a lot of reasons. For my involvement in Take the Way of the Gospel at our parish, the work I'm doing in my master's and trying so desperately hard to finish over this weekend, and a few other things. Have my work in my school. A lot of this has led me to really focus on what do we mean by mission? What does it mean to be a missionary disciple? And instead of going into some super heavy theology on all of this, I found a great article. It was shared with me by a member of the animation team from the Archdiocese of Melbourne when I had a catch up with her. A really awesome catch up, by the way. She shared this article with me by Lorraine McCarthy from that same animation team. And it's a very simple one, and we'll share this link in our show notes. It even says at the top, it takes 7 minutes to read. So there you go. If you've got 7 minutes to sit down and read, it's called Missionary Discipleship, What It Means and Why It Matters. So I thought today I'd just break down a couple of points from this article, and maybe we'll have a bit of a chat about it. It's not as long as a plenary council document, so so it's not going to, you'd have to fall asleep while I read it, guys. Is that all right?
Oh, we're falling asleep.
Yeah, I know. I'm just
we're
teasing.
really concentrating and understanding. Yeah,
we were concentrating with our eyes closed.
Yeah. Sorry.
Everyone needs a sister who can tear them down a notch.
Been a while,
bring them down a peg.
Couldn't let you get away with that one.
Yeah, love it. All right. So so the article goes on to say this. It says, what would it feel like to be part of a parish that is filled with missionary disciples, where almost every parishioner has a fire inside them to share the love of Jesus, where people are hungry to be nourished by the word and sacrament, where people are sacrificial in their financial giving, and where they serve the community, not to help father, but to joyfully express their co-responsibility for the life and mission of the parish. Sound too good to be true? It is important to dare to dream. The first step to a renewed parish is to having a strong vision of what an actively engaged congregation of missionary disciples might look like. In order to do that, we first need to have a clear idea of what a missionary disciple is and is not. And so the rest of the article will go on to say, well, what does a missionary disciple look like? And honestly, if I were to summarize it, a missionary disciple looks like a practicing Catholic. That's it. It's not going above and beyond and burning yourself out and destroying yourself for Jesus, because even God doesn't want that of us. But it's about joyfully proclaiming what we've received, firstly in our parish setting, and then beyond our parish setting as well. And how might that look in a practical sense? I would say it looks like a supportive community. So, what are we, Jesus taught and healed and helped and, always brought people in, improved the lives of others. He, the people who are on the edges and the peripheries, he brought them into the mainstream, in the community. And so I guess one thing we can think about is, who are the people in our parishes who might be on the peripheries right now, who come to Mass and then sneak away really quickly because maybe they're too afraid to talk to people, or maybe there's something going on where they don't want to hang around. People who feel like I'm here, but maybe I don't really belong here. Who are those people that we can reach out to? Do we know the joys and the sufferings of people in our parish? And, are we able to do something about it? Missionary discipleship challenges us to think, just as Jesus walked around healing and preaching and sharing good news, how can we preach and heal and share good news within our parish setting and then beyond as well. So when I say, missionary discipleship is basically being a practicing Catholic, let me tell you what I mean by that. First of all, it says here, a missionary disciple has been described as someone who has had a transformational encounter with Jesus and has chosen to surrender and follow. And there's a great diagram right there, which you can see. It's just got like encounter, surrender, follow, transformation, done, tick. And so what it says is missionary disciple encountered Jesus through a personal experience of the love and presence of God. As a result of the encounter, they chose to say yes to surrender to God's love and God's will for their life. They allowed their entire life to be transformed by this relationship. And I think of Mary as the model of this. I always go back to Mary saying yes. What a powerful moment in Scripture that is. How profound that moment really is. Sometimes we gloss over it. The angel appeared to Mary. Mary said yes, and then Jesus was born, and everything was better. It's that yes. To say yes to what was being asked of her was huge, because we have to remember. It's not like someone said, Mary, can you do me a favor? And you go, yeah, I'll do you a favor. No worries. You know what I mean?
Oh, no. No.
That yes, we can say yes to being asked favors, no problems. But this yes was an act of faith. All right. And that's the difference. It was an act of faith. It was an act of total trust in God. God has asked something of me and I'm going to say yes to it. Not knowing entirely how it's going to work out yet. Okay. But saying yes to it anyway. And so that, in a sense, is what our transformational yes to Jesus is. Now, it says here, so just to demystify this first little bit, right? It says, a missionary disciple, someone who's had a transformational encounter with Jesus, they've chosen to surrender and follow. Sometimes when you hear this transformational thing, people are like waiting for Jesus to appear to them or for something miraculous to happen, to which I say, calm down, right? That's not the primary encounters we have with Jesus now are through the things that exist here in the world. Let me give you some examples of ways that we encounter Jesus today. The first one is Scripture. All right, we have, God's word has been recorded in Scripture, the experience of those early followers of Christ, and how they had a transformational experience with Jesus has been recorded in Scripture as a confession of faith for us, so that we can encounter Jesus in the way that they did. And understand Jesus in the way that they did. The letters, that follow the Gospels, all right, that they articulate this ongoing relationship with Christ, and a lot of those people in those letters who wrote those letters, or who are the receivers of those letters, not all of them experience Christ personally, in the flesh. They're experiencing Christ after his death and resurrection, but they've all had transformational encounters. Again, not because there was some kind of big miracle where Jesus appeared to all of them, right? Jesus appeared to some of them, but not all of them, and said, hey, follow me. All right. It's through the witness of the disciples, the disciples of Christ, and those who went on to be disciples of Christ, missionary disciples following, the discipleship of the OGs, of the originals, right? So, so our encounters with Christ could be through Scripture, for example. Right, we see all kinds of things. When Jesus says in Matthew's Gospel, you are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. And I'm paraphrasing that quite badly, but that's addressed directly to his followers, to us. All right, so he's giving us qualities of missionary discipleship, and there are so many other ways that Jesus speaks directly to us through Scripture. So that's an encounter. The sacraments are an encounter as well with Christ. The priest acts in Christ's place. And so we encounter Christ in that way. And I think what we have to realize is that in all of these moments, don't let them go by just as something physical event that you've done, but it's an encounter with Christ in a very powerful way. I would say that nature is an encounter with God, for sure. Why would I say that? Okay, not because I'm a tree-hugging hippie, all right? Why would I say that? I say that because, first of all, God is the author of creation. We have to remember that. Not just the planet Earth, but everything. The entire vastness. We've talked about the James Webb Space Telescope and what it's shown us, right? You know what I mean? Exactly. Literally, OMG. You're right. And I think I remember we did an episode and we talked about it. And I said when I saw the images, I thought, and God saw that it was good. You know what I mean? God, the encounter with God in nature, in the natural world, is there. That the nature is a sign of God's presence with us. All right.
Don't you think?
Yep.
Sorry to jump in,
Go
but
on.
like, don't you think when you see images of space, like especially like when there's energy coming out of something, like, you know, there's been a star explosion or there's a neutron star with all this stuff coming out of it, or the sun. For me, it's like God, some of his energy, like his creative energy, his energy, like it's just can't help it. He can't contain it. It's just all there, you know, it's all coming out. That's what I get anyway.
No.
The heavens are telling the glory of God. You know what I mean? That's, we see that
like
in scripture.
Power and energy, you know, on
all
a
creation
grand,
dances with joy.
We're just little, but then space is like, there's more love out there, just more example of it out there as well.
And this is why this is a faith and science podcast, by the way, too.
Yes.
Because we're talking about the wonders of God in the natural world, which science uncovers, you know, for us.
There's all evidence out there. You can see it.
So this awe that's brought on by nature, you know, is also a sign of God's presence. And there's so many other signs as well. You know,
many.
Many. We've talked about artworks, for example. Religious artworks, in a way, are a translation of someone's faith into imagery, just like scripture is a writing of someone's faith into words. So there are so many ways that we encounter God, and these encounters, these are what's transformational. And what I want to emphasize is that transformation is ongoing. We're not transformed once by God, it is ongoing. And if you think, what was my relationship like with God 10 years ago? What was it like 10 years before that? What was it like 10 years before that? We're getting to children now. But the point I'm saying is, you know, if you can see how your understanding of God grows over time, there's the evidence of that transformation. You can't see it in the here and now always, but if you look back over the course of your life, you actually see the transformation that's happened and is still happening. And that transformation goes beyond death as well. And we can talk about that another time. We can talk about theosis, the big word theosis, beautiful word, all right?
Wow.
But God is gracing us all the way through our life with this transformational thing. So what I want to get across is sometimes people waiting for something to happen, something big, some sign. And I would say, all right, maybe you'll get that, but stop waiting for it. All right. It started when you were baptized. So get going, get into it now, right? But we weren't made to sit around waiting for God. You know, we were made to act for God. So that's our missionary discipleship. So let's roll on with then. So a person who said yes has had a transformation, you know, through God's presence and so on. So what are the characteristics? What do they do? Now look at this. This is fairly simple, this list, right? It says that missionary disciples who've been transformed by their relationship with Jesus, their surrender, they do things like worship. That is, they give praise to God for, you know, they thank God for the blessings in their lives. They participate in sacraments. They attend mass and so on. So worship is this coming to God, all right, coming back to God all the time. And and we'll do that, like I said, by thanking God, by participating in sacraments, by attending mass, you know, where and when we can, all those kinds of things. They pray, right? And prayer is simply talking to God. You know, it's that time that we put aside. And when I say time, the other thing is, don't think that you have to keep a log of how many hours you've prayed in a day or how many minutes. Think about it like this. You know, the attention that you give to people in your life is the value of the relationship that you have with them, if that makes sense. All right. I value my relationship with you, which is why I want to talk to you, which is why I want to be, you know, in your presence, you know, and playing with your pets, Caroline, or, you know, or Lino, or playing board games, Lino, whatever it might be. But I value that time. You know what I mean? It's, you know, I look forward to that. Yeah. Because it's relationship building and, you know, it's a sign of how, you know, how close we are and how important that our presence with each other is. And that's what prayer is too. It's a sign of the importance of God's presence with us. And so we spend time talking to God, and you can recite prayers. We have lots, you know, the Our Father, I think, is probably one of the greatest prayers we've been given to recite. And you know, we've got our traditional Hail Marys and Glory Be's, all that kind of stuff, rosaries, novenas, there's all that kind of stuff that you can draw on. Different saints over the eras have given us different ways that they've prayed that we can follow in their footsteps, or you can put all that aside and simply talk to God. All right? Make a sign of a cross, grab a cup of tea, and talk to God. Simple as that. All right. Remember that there isn't a complex way to get to God. God is already here, and God is just waiting for us to, to talk. So our prayer life is obviously very important because it grows that possibility of transformation over and over again. Service is the next one. And this is about looking for opportunity to help other people, both within our Christian communities and outside of it. And I talked about this briefly before already. But missionary disciples want to do whatever they can to assist the proper functioning of parish life and the care of those within it, and also beyond the parish life as well. So providing generous service where they can. Missionary disciples give as well. So that includes things like, let's go with the most basic thing, our sacrificial giving at church. All right. So we all make a sacrifice of what we can reasonably afford, because obviously you have to pay your house and you can't have your family starving. That's not what we're being asked to do, right? It's not a burdensome giving, but the idea is that we sacrifice something that we decide ourselves is appropriate, that we give at Mass. And people have different systems. Some people use tithing, some people use this, use that. There's no rule, right? You decide what reasonably can be given to support your community at Mass. And there are times probably when you can't give, which is fair enough too. There, circumstances can be that hard. But there's other kinds of giving too. Obviously, giving of yourself. How can I serve in my parish today? Maybe I can put my hand up to volunteer to read, or to be a collector, or to greet people at the front door, or to make tea and coffee after Mass for people to gather around. So many ways that we can serve. And again, just simple stuff, right? Not things that take hours and hours to plan and prepare, but really simple service that helps. And giving, yes, obviously. So learning is the other thing I've already talked about. Reading scripture and finding opportunities to learn, and there are great ways you can do that. There may be a seminar that comes up. There may be something else. There are lots of great courses online. There are lots of articles like the one I'm reading on Melbourne Catholic that takes 7 minutes to read. You could just do 7 minutes of reading and learn that way. Find a good book. You might want to find, there are popular works and then there are, heavy theological works, right? So popular works tend to be, well-known speakers, writers, priests, bishops, lay people, whatever else, who produce books which are really good guides to faith and explain the church and explain beliefs, which are really good. And if you want to cross the threshold and get into things that are a bit more technical, you could pick up some introductions to theologies and introductions to, the Old and New Testaments and things like that, and just see how far that goes. So, I mean, that's the comfort of the person too. So there are ways to learn our faith that way. Missionary disciples also discern, and what that means is basically coming back to, where does God want me to serve, and how does God want me to serve? And that comes through our prayer life. And I guess it one way to put it, there are a couple ways, right? Sometimes you can get this welling sense of, there's a need here. Does God want me to be involved in this? Or sometimes it's simply just seeing a need, and it might be an immediate need, or it might be an ongoing need that where something needs to be done. And so discerning is taking that to God in prayer and saying, do you want me to be involved? And how do you want me to be involved? And who else do you want to be involved with me as well? Because the thing is, we have to keep in mind that when we discern, it's not about, is it all up to us to save the day? All right, but it's about who else does God have that's equipped to help us do this, whatever it might be. Mary McKillop,
it's like trying to work as a team.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Try not to do it alone, and it's great, to have support and people around you.
Yeah, as much as possible, never carry a project on your own in a parish. Have other people with you too. For two reasons. One, because most of the stuff we do is voluntary and we'll burn out, okay? I'm putting my hand up because I've done it before, right? But the second thing is, the people you bring with you will be formed along the way, which is so powerful for them, right? And so powerful for you too. I mean, so much better to work with other people, to collaborate with others on things like this. So the other thing is also fellowship. All right. So sharing in the life with, with fellow disciples in the community, with everyone. So fellowship is two things: the growing of support, of each other within the parish, but then also the ability for the parish to reach out to the rest of the world. And lastly, missionary disciples are fruitful. And what it says here basically is they exhibit the fruits of the Spirit as described in Galatians, where it says, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And self-control. Missionary disciples are filled with the Holy Spirit, and their faces and lives radiate this reality. So as a final bit here, it says that missionary discipleship is not unconscious or accidental, and it's not something we inherit or culturally acquire. It's more than following religious rules. It's more than attending Sunday Mass. It's more than just simply being good. It's not a transactional relationship with a judgmental God. I'll do this and then God won't punish me for that. Missionary discipleship requires a deliberate decision to follow Jesus as a disciple in the midst of his church. Missionary discipleship, and this is only half the article, I'm not going to go through the second half because there's more, right? But missionary discipleship is being like Mary and saying yes through faith to God for whatever God has in store for us, to participate in that way. There's more in the article. I won't go through the rest of it. However, it's worth having a look at, and it's got some misconceptions and why they matter. So there are misconceptions like we are all disciples, and that depends, right, on if a person has said yes or not. Because you can receive all the sacraments and go through all the process, but not have had a transformational encounter with Christ yet. So it's important to support people in that. Making disciples and forming disciples are two different things. They're not the same. That's another myth. Again, I won't go through it in a lot of detail. Busyness is fruitfulness. It's not, okay? So keep that in mind. So being super busy and burning yourself out in a parish setting is not fruitfulness. But also a parish having, a dozen programs which are all great is not good either, because it will dilute. How does a person know which thing to go to? So have a less is more approach. And the good thing about less is more is you bring more people together as well, which is really important in a parish setting. Expect too much and people will leave. And so sometimes people have misconceptions about what's expected of them in a parish setting. And if we do put too much on people, if we say you're not doing enough, you need to do more missionary discipleship, that actually works against it. And also, and this last one's good. A priest's role is to keep parishioners happy. And what it talks about here is that how parishioners expect a parish to be in a certain way and never change. And so it says there, are you a consumer or are you a disciple? A consumer goes from parish to parish till they find it exactly the way that they want it to be, and they don't want anything to change. And they're happy for the parish to stay that way, and within 10, 20 years for that parish to die because it hasn't renewed, it hasn't grown. It hasn't got missionary discipleship as its focus. It's got the priest keeping the people happy as the focus. And that is bad for a priest, because a priest will burn themselves out if what they try and do is make people happy at the expense of missionary discipleship. All right. So the article is great. I recommend it. It took me more than 7 minutes to go through it, but I promise it's only a 7-minute read. Caroline, any thoughts on missionary discipleship as this article described?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I can't do much in my parish, and I'm not making an excuse, but it's really because I have two rambunctious, time-consuming boys. Okay, so I've always thought, oh, maybe I can read, but if I go up and read, Mommy, it'll be like, yeah, I'm not going to read anything, okay? And they'll be fighting in the pew. I spend most of my time just trying to get through Mass, right? So, I find that my missionary kind of work would be outside the parish. So it's more like when you have parishioners who find you on Facebook and want to message you, and you're like, okay, all right, let's have this chat, let's talk. And they're like, I need support. Can you help me? Okay. And it's just as simple as answering a message or something like that. My almsgiving, in church, or, the sacrificial is usually just the coins in my purse. And I'll be like, here you go, boys, because they want to take part. So I give them, whatever's in my wallet, and I just give it to them, or whatever happens to be there is, So I think my approach is more like no pressure, keep it simple. And, usually I find that you don't actually have to go looking for what shall I do. It comes to you.
Yes, definitely.
And you may not necessarily want to do it. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person is coming to my door and talking. But it's like, this person knows where you live and came to your door for a reason. And so you let them in and you talk to them and then that's happened a few times to me, or like I mentioned on the messenger, on the Facebook Messenger. So like, it's not hard to do these things. So I don't think you need to necessarily, if you can't like always go out of your way to, like, you guys are very involved in the parish and I'd love to do stuff like that, but my life situation doesn't allow me now to do that. So other ways do present themselves to me, they come to me and I take those opportunities. So like I'm more of, like I said, more of a keep it simple and no pressure kind of, and on the topic of prayer, like, yes, in my life, I do have like, prayers, for example, like the Divine Mercy, like I like to pray in the morning because it sets my day up. But then there's other times like, this winter's been really hard and you can't always stay just home and try to recover. You have stuff to do. Like you've got to go out and do things, you've got appointments, you've got whatever there is. And my prayer sometimes in the morning was just, I look up and I say, God, help me. And it's the most sincere prayer.
Yep.
And it is the most faith connecting prayer to me. And wow, God actually helps me that day because I have sincerely asked for help, So it doesn't have to be hours of prayer. And, it's like Jesus said, don't have to stay, sit there and pray for hours and just go ramble praying, God doesn't necessarily want that. He wants a direct prayer from you, a faith-filled, honest prayer from you. And so it could just be simply, God help me. And, that's just my experience anyway.
And it could even be, you're right. And it could even be as simple as, God, today I say yes to whatever you bring my way. Simple as that. Yep. And I've got to say, on the point of, being busy with your kids at church and whatever, remember that bringing our kids to church is missionary discipleship.
Yeah.
In itself.
It's hard.
And again, it can be hard, but it's simple as well because, it sounds like a very simple thing. All I do is put my kids in the car and make them sit with me, but it's a whole lot more than that because they're seeing what we do at Mass. They're having the opportunity to give that you give them as well. And that giving is important because they're learning to give to their community, but they're learning that it's okay to give outside the walls of the church too. So that, that's blessed work that you're doing right there. And I'm sure that there are a lot of parents who can relate to exactly what you're saying, Caroline, too.
Yeah.
So and that comes back to that busting one of those myths that, sometimes we demand too much of people. And so sometimes, people will give and do, I should say, to the point of what they're capable of. And that's what God asks. Again, God does not want us to break ourselves in order to follow what he wants us to do. Jesus didn't break himself. I mean, apart from being crucified, but that's different context, right? But in terms of his ministry, in modeling for us what we should do, he wasn't breaking himself and burning himself out in order to advance the gospel. He was encountering people where the opportunity came up. Just like you said, where people would message you on, through Facebook, whatever else, Caroline. It's so true.
Yeah, they'll come and find you.
They will come and find you. They will come and find you. Yeah, it's so
and
true.
I don't mean that in a bad way. It's lovely. But, sometimes you're just like, oh, I don't feel well and I have to talk to this person or whatever. But that's what we do.
Yeah, but the fact that people can seek you out and that they've chosen you as the person that they want to talk to, that says something about missionary discipleship too, doesn't it? It means that they've seen something in you. That's what we have to realize as well. Like if someone reaches out to us, they've seen something in us. And it can be hard because people reach out at really inconvenient times. And sometimes people want to talk for 2 hours that you don't have, which is also very hard. Trust me, you know what I'm talking about too. But the thing is, at least they've recognized that there is something Christian in our character that they can seek God through us, and that's really powerful too. Yeah, Lino, any thoughts? Yeah, any thoughts, Lino?
Yeah, I totally understand from Caroline's perspective. person. I wasn't from a view from her. You know, it's sometimes hard being a missionary, and I when I was very young, like it's telling Lizzie, go back way back when you think about when did you start your missionary work? I can't. I definitely didn't do it while I was in high school. I can tell you that. That was just crazy there at the time. Sorry, Caroline. It was crazy. It was crazy those years. But I think it was more when I had a question. What am I doing with my life? And that's the biggest question in the universe.
Yeah,
as usual, you know. And then you know, and I sought God in different ways, and the biggest one was YFC. That really opened my spirituality.
That's Youth to Christ for anyone who's not sure about that. Yep, go on.
Yes, sorry, Youth to Christ. And then in the youth group, being in the youth group and everything like that. And my parents, they helped me in their little way of going to mass and understanding the mass. And also you guys and everyone else who surrounded me with love and support with everything I try to understand with my faith and everything. And look, you know, being a missionary is it's not easy. I'm just saying from the past and everything like that. It's hard. It is hard, but with the love and support with God and with people around you, it can be a much easier journey through it. And sometimes if it comes for myself, I get chosen.
That's right.
I get chosen. You know, you do collection. Can you do organize this and that? And I definitely say
offertory.
yes.
I always get pulled up for offertory. You've got two boys, you and the two boys. Let's go.
Yeah. Parish life.
Yeah.
You do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I've never said no. And I must admit, one time, one of the parishioners did ask me, would you like to be a disciple for washing the feet? And I said to him, yes and no. Yes, I would like to. No, because I would like you to ask one of the youth
good.
to be part of the thing. Part of the I don't know if I told you this, Lindsay.
I don't know if I this one. No,
this is very long ago. I think it was very long ago.
Yeah.
And he said, the parishioner.
You don't want those young people having their feet washed. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fine.
We've broken a lot of barriers in our parish over the decades. Yeah. We love everyone there.
Like you said, Lizzie, about going to parishes. If you want a certain parish to be the way you want it, you know, the way you want the structure and all the way everything like that. Yes, you can try to find one, but in this day and age, churches and the way the mass is, they are changing in a way. But you know what I mean? I mean, definitely the prayers, all the structures, in a sense, are still there, but we're introducing new things that there is a purpose for it. We're not going to revolutionize the way we do our missionary, all that stuff. It's just the way that we want to try to connect with other people, especially with the youth, with other people that who are new to the parish. Look, maybe bringing them in. I'm maybe going a bit of a tangent and trying to get trying to explain a bit more about missionary work in this kind of era we have now. But for me, it's been a journey, and I'm going to say it right now. It's like if I didn't have my faith in God, I wouldn't know where I would be. I would not. I'll be lost. Yeah, that's just for me. That's what I would be. Yeah.
No, thank you for that. And that thing you said about bringing other people in, and then we have had. I'm not criticizing them, but we have had a few people who are suspicious of young people come and go. That happens, right? But let me say this about let me say this about young people and bringing people in, right? So up until Alexander was born, I was running the youth group at our parish. So I ran it for 5 years, right? So I got a handful of young people who were willing to come in, and these were like families that we knew who wanted a youth group. So thank God we had them as a foundation, right? And they started inviting their friends to come, and their friends were not parishioners, And some of their friends weren't even going to church. They were friends from school. So they were doing more missionary discipleship at the time than some of the people who are complaining about young people and all that kind of stuff, you know. So just perspective, right? You know, and again, it's not to criticize anyone in my parish, right? Because I understand that sometimes we can be a little bit suspicious of young people because of the cliches that exist and the good old reasons that have been around, you know, they do this, they do that. But the thing is, I think there is an example in the way that young people make friends and go and do things together, like go to a youth group, go to a concert, go to go to the movies, whatever. The way that they make friends easily and they go and do things together, there's something in that model for the rest of us to pay attention to as well. All right. Now, it's a lot harder for an adult to say, hey, come to church with me, but there are other things as well. Like there are other things you can do too. But anyway, we'll leave it at that because we want to get onto some science now. But if anyone who's listening, if you have any comments about anything we've said about missionary discipleship, we want to learn and we want to hear you. So please share your thoughts as well. But Caroline, let's move on now and let's talk about science.
What a fine day for science.
You have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Can you reverse the polarity?
I'll do my best.
Science, 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 science. Science, 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 science. Yeah, I like science.
So, Caroline, you warned us that today's science segment would be a little bit buggy. Now, yes. I feel like there are two meanings going on there. So,
yes.
Yes. Why don't you tell us what's going on with in the world of science, in your world?
Very buggy. Very buggy. So, first topic, I would like, now, not everyone is going to enjoy this topic, but I'm going to try and bring a different light to things like I always do with science. So, an extinct cockroach has been rediscovered. Ooh. Okay, I know cockroaches are not, top on the list for favorite insects, but just
they're the kind of things that we don't like to discover in our houses usually, aren't they? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will get to that. So this is the Lord Howe Island wood-eating cockroach. So it is not your everyday little cockroach that you find in the kitchen and want to squish, okay? So it's a wingless wood-eating cockroach named Panacea lata. Previous thought to be extinct has recently been rediscovered. It was last seen about 80 years ago. So they thought it was not there. It's a wingless cockroach and it's 22 to 40 millimeters long. It has a metallic body color that varies from reddish to black. And Australia hosts 11 species of this cockroach. And they are powerful burrowers that live inside and feed on rotten logs in the rainforest and open forest in coastal northern and eastern Australia. This particular cockroach is unique to Lord Howe Island, which is about 700 kilometres northeast of Sydney or the mid-north coast of New South Wales. It was once widespread across the archipelago. This native cockroach and was thought to have become extinct on the main island of the Lord Howe Island archipelago in 1918 when rats arrived. And of course, who bought the rats? The people. So, as always. Yeah. Now, researchers at the University of Sydney, made up of honours student Maxim Adams and evolutionary biologist Nathan Lowe, actually went, as part of their project, to Lord Howe Island to conduct a survey to confirm the extinction of this cockroach. And with successful rodent eradication program having been undertaken in 2019, they were examining the possibility of reintroducing this native cockroach back to Lord Howe Island. So they just thought, we're going here, we're not going to find any, but we'll just see, if the environment's still good, it's a habitat that they will enjoy, still be able to live, and we'll just breed these up and, we can find different, not exactly that cockroach, but something that can take the role of the cockroach that was there before. Mr. Adams went ahead to Lord Howe Island, along with Nicholas Carla from the Department of Planning and Environment. Now, they went hunting, so they just went to have a look. They're turning over some rocks, and it turns out One of the very first rocks they turned over is where they unexpectedly found this species of cockroach. It was actually a whole family of them.
Oh, it's first rock. That's, yeah.
They're just like, what? They were very, very surprised, very shocked.
Dancing for joy, yeah.
Yes. I mean, for an entomologist, there's somebody who, or somebody who's studying this kind of thing, it's it's amazing. So, yeah, I mean, like someone looking at the stars, they found something. Well, they're looking at the ground. It's so similar, but not the same, but similar. It was under a banyan tree, which is, the species name is Ficus macrophylla, and it's a large evergreen native fig that's found in the area. Entomologists had been looking for this particular cockroach for decades, but haven't found any, so that's why it was thought to be extinct. Now, they performed DNA studies on the cockroach, and they did confirm that they are a genetically distinct group from other cockroaches found nearby. So there are other types of cockroaches that are very similar, but this is the particularly distinct species due to their DNA. So it seems that this population managed to survive over time and become this distinct population. The survival of the population has been compared to Darwin's finches, so where their separation from other populations allowed them to develop their own genetics and adapt perfectly to their environment. So with Darwin, when he went to the Galapagos Islands, and there were finches with different shapes and sizes of beaks, and they were all like, one was eating nuts, one was eating insects, for example, and they managed to, they were similar but not the same, because they changed over time through genetics, through mutations, to be able to inhabit a particular environment and to, adapt to a certain food source so their population could live. So it's a similar kind of thing. But why should we care about these cockroaches? Like, seriously, why should we care about them?
That's a great question, Caroline.
Okay.
You haven't got to that part yet.
No, so here. So let me tell you what Professor Lowe said. He said that the native wood-eating cockroaches played an important environmental role. Now, it's important, environmental, to be environmentally aware, understand nature a bit more. So they are incredibly important nutrient recyclers, ecosystem engineers, and as a food source for other species. He said, we're not rats necessarily, because they don't want the rats there, but the lizards and other native species. He said that the species also deserved a better rap than common street roaches, not those, the ones that we talked about in our kitchens.
Not like those common cockroaches.
They are not.
Not like that vermin.
They look a bit different too. It doesn't smell. It doesn't run quickly. It's not scary.
Yeah, smell. Sorry about that. Yeah, I forgot about that.
And they scamper away. These ones don't do that. It's actually quite charismatic. You can hold it in your hand, he said. And they're quite actually cute little things if you're an insect lover.
That's a big
it just hangs. It is. I may be an insect lover. You guys know that already.
We know you are,
definitely. And I'll come to that later as well. It just hangs out in the forest. It doesn't go into people's houses. It just hangs out in the forest recycling wood and leaf litter to keep the forest healthy. That's why we're interested in it, because it was so abundant before the rats wiped it out. We figured it was probably playing a pretty important ecological role on the island, also acting as food for a number of the bird and reptile species out there. And he said there was still so much to learn. So that's why it is important that we found these cockroaches. Wow. Every single little creature that God has made has an important role in the environment. Once you remove one, there's something, that's not being done. For example, these cockroaches break down wood and recycle nutrients. So they were worried that this role wasn't being played, and so they were trying to fill the gap. But they're already there, so I assume that probably the next steps would be trying to breed them up and spread them around the place, So
awesome.
I thought that was a cute little cockroach story.
That's a good one. Yeah. The one question I'll have for God one day when this life is over is mosquitoes. Really, mosquitoes? You could
Yeah.
Okay, I can take your
I'm
recycling beetles.
lover.
I'm cool with that. With cockroaches. Sorry, but but you got to explain mosquitoes to me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Caroline, these poor things. I was thinking, they're hard workers, but also food for other. No, I'm going to think positively.
Well,
very hard workers.
Everybody's food for somebody in the natural world. Unfortunately, that's just how it is.
I know. It just feels
like we're lucky we're at the top of the food chain.
Well, yeah, true.
And
aren't we all just food for something? No, I'm kidding.
Keeping with the insects, we are.
Yeah.
Except,
cool.
We hope not to be food for someone, like maybe
or anything,
out there in Africa for lions and hippopotamus and crocodiles. I mean, the Northern Territory crocodile. Anyway, I can think of examples.
Didn't this science topic just get
go
really dark? Wow.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm just saying.
Right. Back to cute cockroaches.
It's nature. Okay, it's nature.
Yeah. But it's great to see they're doing very well. These cockroaches
they are
great.
cute.
Yeah.
I have stick insects, which I'm going to talk about a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. You can actually buy native cockroaches and have them as a pet. Like you can raise them. There's some that are really big, like really huge, big ones. But they're kind of just prehistoric looking. They're not those horrible ones with and big antennae and scampering around and running off with your sandwich. That's not the kind of cockroaches they are.
That's right.
Anyway.
Cool.
So I really wanted to do a little update too on my stick insect family.
Yeah.
I spoke about first getting a spiny leaf insect. I got it in July last year, and I did an episode.
Wow, that's so long ago.
Yes, you
spiny
did.
leaf insect.
Yeah.
Yes. Now it is a form of stick insect, but it looks like dried leaves. It's brown. It's it's kind of it looks, if you put it in the leaf litter, you won't be able to see it obviously because it's camouflage. Well, so the one I had, she was a girl, and unfortunately she passed away not that long ago. So she lived for quite a while, which is a normal lifespan. They live for about a year and a half, and she wasn't very small when I got her. So she lived a good life. For a little while, she had a male friend, and they were very friendly, and I have some eggs from them, right? And they laid lots of eggs. And recently, now that the weather's getting a little bit better, I actually have had these eggs for quite a few months now, and they've all of a sudden started hatching, which I'm so excited about.
Awesome.
And I have very many now.
I saw yesterday. It's amazing.
Little spiny leaf insects. Yeah. So
oh wow.
You're getting one for Christmas.
Everyone's getting one for Christmas now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Oprah.
Yes. You're getting a stick insect.
Just like
You're
Oprah.
getting a stick insect. They are actually really cute.
Nice. Yeah, they are actually cool.
So yes, now because they were, they have genetically both the male and the female, there will be males and females in these eggs. The female actually can reproduce by herself. It's a survival thing, but they'd be clones of the mother.
Yep.
Oh my
but
goodness
I'm
me.
expecting little boys and girls in this little population, so I'm really excited. And I think I spoke about in that podcast too how when they are born, because when I'll start again, when the eggs are laid, they drop to the ground. So these stick insects will live in the trees, in the gum trees. The eggs will drop to the ground, and there's this particular species of ant, little black ant with a red head, that will get their eggs and take them down to their burrow, and each egg has like a little sugar cap on top. The ant will eat the sugar cap and dispose of the rest of the egg. Now, the egg will stay in a nice warm environment down in the ant burrow, and then the stick insect will hatch. And guess what it looks like when it hatches? That little ant. It looks like a little black ant with a red head. And now I can confirm that because I actually see them, and they walk around like little ants. They're very fast. And what they do is they work their way up through the burrow and up to a tree, and then they start looking more like a spiny leaf insect. And I can confirm that because I'm seeing it for myself, which is really exciting. So, yes. So if you go back in time, I can't remember, what episode number it was.
So I can jump in there. I'll put it in the show notes, but if you use our Let's Science sister show, which is these segments, it's episode 9. So I'll put a link in the show notes. Yeah.
There you go. And you can hear all about them in that episode. So
Wow.
yes, and I have another group of eggs that have hatched too. They're called a crown stick insect. It's just a normal kind of looking stick insect, I guess. If you look up crown stick insect, you'll be able to see. And they have started hatching too, which is awesome.
Wow, Caroline.
And now I am waiting for another group of insects to hatch, which are my leaf insects, which they are not a stick insect. They're a leaf insect. They look like a green leaf.
They're
and
amazing.
I'm just waiting for.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for those, and I know everyone's gonna want one of those. So yeah. So yeah, I thought I'd just very buggy episode today.
Yes. So if you're a friend of Caroline, expect a bug this Christmas.
Christmas is coming. They'll be just big enough at Christmas time for everybody to get one.
Awesome.
Or two. Yeah.
Caroline's
we did talk
Caroline's
about
a bigger mum.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I don't know if we did talk about this in the previous episode on this, but they're very low maintenance to look after, aren't they?
Oh, so low maintenance. All you need to do is a jar of water, grab a branch or just, a whole branch, but, a stem of gum leaves, just put it in, like you get a vase of flowers, and you just put the leaves in there and just spritz them with water once a day, and that's it. They're happy to live there.
Very
Put
easy.
them in enclosure, a mesh enclosure, and they're just hours of fun. Like, you wouldn't think so, but I just look at them every day and I just love them. They're just such a unique pet. They're amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
Definitely,
and you learn
definitely.
so
Wow.
much. I've learned so much having them and reading about them and learning about them. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Cool.
thanks for sharing that. Can I just cap off this little science segment
For
with
sure.
2 bits of space news? The
Of
first one
course.
is you may recall the Capstone mission. So this was the mission that was launched by NASA. It's a probe the size of a microwave, basically, that was launched by Rocket Lab in New Zealand to go to the moon. And the journey was about 3 months, and its mission was to go into that I forgot the name of the orbit, but anyway, it's like a halo kind of orbit. So it's more oblong shaped than just a regular orbit of the moon, to test the theory that the Earth and the moon's gravity meet at a particular point and can hold an object in a particular orbit. And the plan for this is that eventually the Gateway space station, which will be the platform to go to and from the moon, will be built and go into that orbit. So the good news is Capstone, after a few software issues, did get on track, did make it to the moon after in November as it was meant to, and it did achieve that orbit that they were hoping that it would. So that's an important Pathfinder mission, and anyone who's a space nut would already know this. But during the week at time of recording, Artemis 1 launched. It was as amazing as we thought it would be.
Attempt?
It was so surreal. I think it was at the 3rd attempt. Yeah, it was so surreal to watch it
Third
take
time's
off.
always a lucky one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Third time.
Yes, that's right.
Absolutely, and it was a flawless launch. It was just like watching any regular rocket. It was amazing.
Mind blowing.
So, thank you.
I was still recovering from. I still have a bit of COVID fatigue, and I was jumping up and down. I was like, nothing's gonna hold me down. I'm just.
Yes. When they resumed the 10-minute countdown, it was the most exciting 10 minutes.
Yeah, when they did the actual countdown.
I was about to go, all right, it's not happening yet. And then
it's going to get scrubbed. And
they've restarted the count.
Doing it. Yeah, they did the go, no-go poll, and everyone's like, yep, go for launch and everything.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was amazing. So thank you, NASA. Thank you, United States, for getting us excited about space as well. And how historic this mission is cannot be understated. This is the Pathfinder that returns humanity to the moon by about the Artemis 3 mission, and the moon will eventually be populated by humans and be used to launch to Mars and beyond in our solar system as well. So this is huge. Like I can't overestimate how huge this launch and the success of this launch was. So
it will be.
There is so much more to come. Yeah,
I can't wait for it's years off, but I just can't wait to see people. Back on the moon, footage of people on the moon. I can't wait.
And this is not done in a studio, you skeptics out there. This is real,
no,
right?
it's real.
Yeah, not in a Hollywood basement.
Me.
Yes,
not in a Hollywood basement. Of course, it was definitely the other one was real. Well, I'm just saying, this is real. Okay, come on.
They're totally all real. Yes. Calm down,
Yeah, oh my
people.
gosh. It's
Yes.
The steps taken, like every single part of the mission has to go so perfectly well for
Yes.
it all to work. And with the technology they had back then, and it's amazing.
It's amazing. It is.
They set this all in motion back then, and so we're able to go back now and do it. It's just amazing. It's such a privilege to be able to watch it all now.
Exactly.
Really is.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
This is the first steps, Gan.
Yeah.
This is first steps. Wow.
And sorry to ruin the science segment on this note, but every time I see one of those Apollo launches or now an Artemis launch, I keep thinking, it's been a long road.
Oh, Star Trek Enterprise. Oh, Lindsay.
Sorry.
Oh, Lindsay.
Can't help it. I can't help it. It pops into my head every time I see a rocket launch now. I'm sorry if I did that to anyone else.
Man. Now, you
I
got
know.
it to me, man. Now I've got to get my song in my head now.
Yeah. Oh, it's still playing in my head after yeah, let's move on. All right.
Sorry,
I'm
Caroline.
gonna need a new Lego model rocket. They better make an Artemis one.
Oh, yes.
There you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
definitely. I'm sure that will happen. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Check out Amazon.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Caroline. Let's move on and let's talk about entertainments.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
This is not what we came here to do.
No, but it's what I'm going to do.
I have a plan. You've got a plan. I have part of a plan. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
So we are a little bit over time. So let's keep this brief. In 30 seconds, what have we all been watching or doing recently that's been fairly entertaining? Caroline, go.
Can I go with doing?
Go for it.
Okay. And I think this involves you. Okay, as well.
Yeah.
Because we both got. What did we get? What did
We
we
got
both get?
puppies. We got
We both
dogs.
got a puppy.
Pet dogs,
We got one
yeah.
each.
Yeah.
So the day after Marilyn got married.
You're
married.
gonna get now and
She
get
put
weddings.
me in she put me in a car and she's like, we're getting this puppy because we found it. We found a puppy. We're looking for one for a while. And my sister's amazing. She's like, get in the car. We're going to get the puppy because she was excited as me. I get this puppy, go home. Weekend comes. The Sants come over. Oh my gosh, I love your puppy. We're getting a puppy.
Yes.
The weekend, week after I got my puppy. What did you do, Lindsay?
Yeah, so Isabel and I, we got the itch, let's just say. And by the way, I've got to say, people who know me know that, like people who know me know that I've said we are not getting any cats or dogs in our house.
No animals.
So since we got married, Isabel and I, so we were totally resistant to it.
I am still speechless, but so happy that you went ahead.
When we met Astro, it set something off in our minds. And I just started Googling and looking around at what's possible. And Isabella started Googling around and seeing what's possible.
Yeah.
And then we both discovered that we were Googling. Yes, yep. And so we kind of knew it was a bit of a sign. And so then I was asking in the family chat, and you and Marilyn were just massive enablers. You were like, yeah, do it.
Get it.
So we found a 2-month-old Shih Tzu cross terrier, and we called her Luna after the moon. And we love her to the moon and back. She's the most beautiful little puppy. If anyone who's got who sees me on Facebook will see a couple of photos of her now.
And I should mention mine is a little black pug.
You got beautiful pug. Yeah, he's a beautiful boy.
Puppies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we love Astro. Yeah. So now the next thing will be getting the two of them to meet and become friends. We want them to be cousins.
Right after we got our puppies, we were going to meet, and then we got
COVID. Yeah.
COVID instead.
Ouch.
We're still
trying
to get them to meet, but yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to
that's my entertainment. That's all I want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I'll combine mine with yours and leave it at that then for now.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Lino, anything you want to add for our entertainment segment?
Yep. Very quickly. So we finished watching The Expanse last night. Awesome series. Yep. Awesome series. And I definitely have be another seasons coming soon.
I hope so one day.
There's another storyline. What was another one? We finished Jack Ryan, so the second season of that. Bernie loved it when I was watching with it, and it's
there's
really
a third
different.
season in December, isn't there?
It's coming soon.
On Amazon.
Yeah,
looking forward to that. Yes,
look, and that's a cool one. And we we just watched the whole season of Blockbuster, which is based on the good old video store.
Oh,
but
cool.
It it's the same creators of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. At times, it feels Brooklyn Nine-Nine-ish.
Yeah.
There's the what's
I
it?
didn't know about this one.
Yeah, the actress from Brooklyn Nine-Nine who played Amy.
That's
She's
right,
in
yeah.
that.
She's in it. So tell me, because I watched the first episode and it didn't grab me. So
It didn't
should I
grab
keep
you?
going? Should I keep
Keep
going?
on going. Keep on
Okay,
going.
all right.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't know. But then,
Okay.
you know what? I had COVID and I was looking for something to watch and I was miserable. So maybe that added to it. Yeah.
All
right.
good. All good.
Yeah. So you think I
Caroline?
should keep
Caroline?
going and have a go at it?
Give it a go. Give it a go. I
Okay.
think of the first one we were just like, oh, this is too Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But as he wants to get all the characters, blah blah blah.
Yeah, because I like the
Yeah, it's all
concept of
fun.
there being, it's the last blockbuster in America, and they're trying. Yeah,
Of
I like the
all
concept.
the world, isn't it?
Yeah, the
of
world.
all the
Yeah,
world,
yeah.
I think it's the last blockbuster. And I think I'm still rewatching Vikings. So
cool.
wanted to rewatch it because I want to watch Vikings Valhalla. But I always wanted to watch it when it was back on SBS. Yes, 10 years ago. So that was so long ago. But yeah. Besides that, I haven't seen anything in the cinemas yet. But I'm looking forward. There's 2 movies coming out. Wakanda Forever. So that's Black Panther 2.
Yeah, coming soon. Yeah.
And Avatar. Well, we'll see how we go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Caroline. I love that, Caroline. I love that sound.
I haven't seen the first one. I wasn't interested.
Okay, let me say this. The
Yeah, here we
Avatar
go, here we
films,
go, here we
the
go.
first
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
it looked spectacular, all right? It was
But
a
the
feast for the eyes, like
it
amazing.
was, but
when it
then-
came out, right?
Yeah.
Storyline-wise, it was feeling pretty predictable.
It was a bit.
Gotta
It
say
was
that.
a bit. It was a bit.
Yeah. But at least it looked amazing. It was it made 3D popular for a while as well, didn't it? It was.
And I think it was the best thing to watch on Blu-ray when Blu-ray was,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The thing.
Yeah.
Now we've got 4K, 8K. Well, anyway, it's all going
Yes.
crazy now.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for that. Let's wrap it up there. We want to thank you all for joining us for episode 87 of the Catholics of Oz and for all of the topics we talked today. Before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Catholics of Oz. Today, we'd like to thank Julia K, Martin R, Patricia V, Michael A, and Eric M. Through their generous donations at sqpn.com/give, they make it possible for the Catholics of Oz and all of the other shows on StarQuest to continue. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. We'd love to know what you thought, if any thoughts that you have about our episode today. What do you think about missionary discipleship in your parish? What do you think about bugs, stick insects? What is it? Cockroaches, the good type. Any bugs that you're particularly fond of? Share it with us. I know that Caroline would love to hear of any other insect fans out there.
Yep.
Do you keep any insects of your own? Tell us about it. We'd love to know. You can send us feedback by visiting sqpn.com/Oz. We can also find the links from today's episode as well. And while you're at the SQPN website, don't forget to sign up to the Insiders Club newsletter to get updates about your favorite shows. sqpn.com/about/newsletter. SQPN has a vibrant Discord community. And I recommend you to go. I love going on there and seeing what people are talking about. And when I find time, I like to talk to people too. You can go to sqpn.com/Discord and sign up there. It doesn't cost you anything. Come and join us and come and be part of that community. And the Catholics of Oz has its own Facebook page, facebook.com/Catholics of Oz. You can join us in discussing our latest episode there. And of course, don't forget that SQPN also has its own socials, facebook.com/StarQuest Media, at SQPN on Twitter, and StarQuest Media on Instagram. Or if you'd like to get a message out to us on good old email, catholicsofoz@sqpn.com. Caroline, it was awesome to have you back on the Catholics of Oz. Thank you for being part of today's show.
No, thank you. I've been looking forward to coming back and yes, all ready to go. God willing, I'll stay healthy.
Yeah, for sure. And Lino, thank you. Also having you back after such a long time. It's good to have you back again.
It's been great, guys. It's good to see we're all back together again. Once again, thank you, Jerry. We love you, man. And look, everyone, take care. Stay well. God bless, because it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. But stay together. God bless. Take care.
Thank you. And once again, I'm Lindsay Satn, and thank you for joining us for episode 87 of the Catholics of Oz on StarQuest. I don't know why, but I almost said 87%. I don't know what happened there.
COVID brain. Just blame the COVID.
I don't know, COVID brain.
Here's another podcast on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy. The Secrets of Movies and TV Shows. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/secrets.